Hey everyone, it's Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I have a review for another game that I picked up back in Tennessee last year, 2022. Well, I guess it's still this year. I keep forgetting after Christmas it doesn't automatically become 2023. That happens every single year to me. Anyway, I bought a game for $7 last September, I think, is when my wife and I went out to Tennessee for vacation. But anyway, I went to a massive store that I love, and I picked up quite a few games, a ton of games. I did a haul video on that as well. And one of the things I picked up is a game that I heard about all the time back in the day, and I watched maybe the first two parts of a walkthrough from the Rad Brad here on YouTube. And I loved this game. Everything I saw about it was incredible. The more I found out about it, the more stuff I talk about in this review, I will explain. But let me let you know something. Back in 2012, when this game came out, I completely missed it. I never bought a copy. I just got my first copy ever. Now, it's had remasters. It's had re-releases for even everything up to, I think PS5 even has a copy now, I believe. It's had a lot of remasters. I think it's on Switch as well. I don't know. But I'll tell you this. Sleeping Dogs was super special then. It was underrated. A lot of people weren't talking about it, but people who were loved it. And I myself am no exception, because even with the background of this game, which we'll get to in a moment, I'll tell you right now, Sleeping Dogs is one of the best open world games I've ever played in my life. If you like the sandbox open world type of stuff like Grand Theft Auto, Saints Row, if you're like myself and you're a massive fan of that kind of thing, you owe it to yourself. You must, I am begging you, check out Sleeping Dogs. It's incredible. My copy is an Xbox 360 copy, so it's one of the original types of versions of the game. So that should speak volumes about how much fun I had with this. I played this nonstop. I think I played it for I want to say a good 3 weeks. I had to stop at 1.2, so kind of divide that up. So it was about a month, I would say, that I actually dedicated to playing this game, and there's so much shit to do in here. You have no idea. Even when you finish the main storyline, which is maybe 30 missions, not even that, it's very short, very much like I mentioned in my Grand Theft Auto 4 The Lost and Damned review. It's one of those games that the story is so compact, and yet it builds this world in Hong Kong so well. It's incredible, and it's one of my favorite crime stories I've ever played too. For a game that's kind of like a true crime, Saints Row, Grand Theft Auto type of thing, which we'll get to the true crime thing in just a moment. That's important. That's very important that I brought that up. For an open world sandbox type of thing, the story is one of the best I've ever seen told. The writing for the characters, the story, everything, every damn character in here is written so beautifully. They're all acted so beautifully. Will Yun Lee plays our main character here, named Wei Shin, excuse me. I keep saying Wen Shay. Where is that coming from? Wei Shin, who is an undercover cop who goes out to Hong Kong to work on some crime, essentially is what I'm going to leave you with. Now, he had a sister who was apparently murdered way back in the day, and he's never really gotten over that. I guess that's kind of what motivated him to become a cop, and that's not really tying to the main story. It's just character development for him. How many characters have you ever seen in video game history that we've had sympathy for, not only because they're a great guy? Wei Shin is such a wholesome, great character. He is easily my favorite of what I consider Sleeping Dogs to be, part of the true crime series, and I'll get to that in a moment. In case you haven't heard of it, everybody always brings this up every time you even see one fucking mention of Sleeping Dogs on Reddit or Twitter or anything. This, to me, is the best character from the entire true crime trilogy, if you want to call it that. Technically, Sleeping Dogs is not part of that, but we'll see as I discuss that more. Wei Shin is one of the best video game characters of all time. I'm saying classic, especially for open world games. He may be the best of all of them. The undercover cop story has been done a billion times over, but what does Sleeping Dogs do to make it different? Well, a lot of the stuff is the same type of thing you've seen before, but you care so much about everyone involved in Wei Shin's journey here in Hong Kong to try to uproot all of this crime. For an American agency of all things, which is bizarre. I guess it's like an FBI thing or a CIA thing, something like that. Wei Shin is tied to that somehow, and he kind of gets in a situation dealing with like the Yakuza, whatever these group are called. They're not the Yakuza, but there's something else. I forgot what they're called. They might actually be a real gang. The Sun On Yi, that's what it was. He gets tied into that and eventually kind of has to help run it, which gets really messy for him within the office politics of American stuff, within the political situation within the crime families. It's not just one typical crime family. There's multiples that all deal with each other, try to tolerate each other, a little bit like The Godfather, if you've ever seen those movies. This is such a wonderful story. And there are moments, particularly one section involving a wedding, that crushed me. I mean, genuinely had me upset and, genuinely, sad. I didn't cry or anything. But, my wife could tell how invested I was. I was talking to the damn TV. Now, mind you, as much as I love Grand Theft Auto, very rarely do I ever do that with those games. Those games are straight out fun, they're adventurous, they're wild, they're zany, you can fly fucking helicopters into anything you want, you can blow up things, you can do so much in those games that you can do here as well. But man, I think Sleeping Dogs is one of the best times I've had with gaming in a long time. Now mind you, around the same time, I think right before I started this game, I started playing Need for Speed Underground, the original game for PlayStation 2, and I had never played that. I had a blast playing that, had the adrenaline rush, but also used to get angry constantly because of that game. I had a couple of times I got angry with this game because of some melee stuff. We'll get to that in a moment. But overall, Sleeping Dogs is like therapy, dude. When you play this game, there is so much shit to do based around this world. Hong Kong, developed here, has its slums, has its super bright, nifty places with beautiful exotic cars driving down the road. One of my favorite things about open world games are the cars, and this is no exception to that. It's beautiful. There's nothing like it I've ever seen in my life. The game is just incredible. I mean, it's just incredible. The graphics look amazing for Xbox 360. I can only imagine what the remasters look like now, too. I'm hoping in the remasters they'll fix one of the biggest issues that I've ever had with this game. As soon as I started it up, it said that Wei Shin's basic vehicle that he has at his apartment he gets at the very beginning of the game is a motorcycle. And I'm going to tell you right now, I fucking hate driving motorcycles in this game. There's a lot of vehicles in this game out of all the variety that they have, which is kind of limited compared to Grand Theft Auto, but the variety that they do have in this game is pretty vast for a game that no one really talked about much when it came out, aside from the people who loved it. I remember people recommending this left and right when it came out, and how cool it looked to me. I just never got around to picking it up, like I said. But I'll tell you, there's quite a few vehicles. At least half of the vehicles in here handle like shit. And I truly hate that about it, because the game is amazing. But the driving in this game, if you watched somebody like Rad Brad, who has a reputation for being a bad driver or whatever in games, you feel like you would hate watching them play this. But I'll tell you right now, Sleeping Dogs driving is fucking difficult. It's not easy. The braking mechanism is cool. I love the fact that when you get in a car chase with police, you can ram them off the road really hard, and it's super satisfying. And I think it's something Grand Theft Auto needs to adapt or adopt, really, for Grand Theft Auto 6, where when you take out a car, kind of like in Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars, for that old DS and PSP, if you ever played that, when you take out a car, your stars go down on your wanted level. That's kind of like how this game is. If you have 2 or 3 cops chasing after you, all you have to do is run them off the road, make them crash, their car is dead, you're done. Eventually you kill your notoriety because of doing that, and it's fantastic. I love that. Now, the reason I brought up true crime and said that was so important, just in case you haven't heard every fucking person in the last 10 years tell you about this, Sleeping Dogs originally was going to be its own game, then apparently became True Crime Hong Kong for a time. Not officially named that, but it was going to be that, which makes sense because a lot of the showdowns in here are mostly focused on fistfights and martial arts. A lot of this game is focused around martial arts. You very rarely get to use weapons, guns, anything like that in here. You can. I don't know if you can buy them, but I think you can pick them up in the middle of a fight if somebody drops them. If somebody comes at you in this game with a knife, you better be prepared. You're going to get your ass kicked. A lot of the fighting system in here is so much better than True Crime Streets of LA and Streets of New York, which I love both of those games. I'm actually playing through True Crime Streets of LA right now on GameCube. I took a break for Christmas time. I got a very negative score as a bad cop in that game, so I'm kind of stuck. I'm trying to earn my way back. I have a negative 100 score, so it's going to take me a while. You have to do good deeds in that game to be able to earn back some positive cop energy, I guess is what you want to say. I don't know. But I'm trying to earn my way back in that game. But so far, playing Streets of LA for really the first time actually getting anywhere in the story, I'm having a blast. It's an amazing game for its time. I really love it. I know a lot of people didn't really love it when it came out, but for me, I still really enjoyed it. I've had a lot of great memories with my cousin and I playing that on GameCube. But then New York came out, and New York was out for a while before I picked it up for PlayStation 2. I still own my PS2 copy. Both of my games are right here in front of me, besides Sleeping Dog. There's Sleeping Dogs, whatever. The true crime games are really great for environmental stuff. I really love how beautiful the cities look. I love just driving around. Like in New York, you have like snow, you have rain, you have shit like that looks incredible, and New York looks amazing. Both of those cities are modeled entirely after the real life thing. I don't know if Sleeping Dogs is like that, but it would not surprise me with the amount of detail in this game. The details are absolutely incredible. Whether we're talking about clothing, whether we're talking about just walking through a fucking park and looking at the trees and the material of wood used on a bench on the side of the road, all of it's incredible. I love it dearly. And the game is not so serious. The game has the same kind of tone of GTA 4, but the city itself doesn't. Some of the stuff that people say on the side of the roads are hilarious. They really are. And I'll tell you this too. I don't think I've ever heard the same conversation from NPCs twice in this game. Maybe one time that happened, but I could be wrong. But that's extremely rare for any game. GTA doesn't even have that shit. It is incredible the amount of detail orientation that are focused for this game. And to be what was supposed to be a true crime game, from what I'm understanding, before they kind of went back to just making it its own IP, which was a good idea. The melee is very heavy here. If you don't like that, I don't know what to tell you. If you start the game up like myself and you're caught off guard because of how difficult it is to get used to kind of what I would say is a stiff controlling for the fighting and the martial arts stuff, if you have trouble with that, you better prepare yourself, because there's a couple of fights in here, one in particular involving a club, that I went through about 50 times before I beat it. Not because it was like a difficult, like, never-ending thing. Some of the fights are like that. But mainly because I would get my ass kicked because I was told to lock on to enemies using, like, the left trigger or whatever. And I would do that, and then I'd get the shit kicked out of me because I couldn't counter. Like, you know, the melee design for this game is mostly focused around being like Batman Arkham Asylum games, which is great. That's familiar to me. I love that. That was a good choice. That was so much better than the shitty-ass true crime style of fighting. I hate the fighting melee shit in those games. Great games, but I hate that about them. This game decided to go the Batman Arkham Asylum route, and it feels kind of stiff in the beginning of the game. But I feel like the more martial arts stuff you learn throughout the game by getting these trophies, and they're like jade statues, and you go to like a dojo that you used to go to when you were a kid. And the teacher, trainer, whatever, sensei, I don't know what to call him, the dude trains you on a lot of different martial arts things. You unlock so much in this game. The martial arts techniques are really cool. I wish you could carry guns more. You know, I wish you could buy more guns. You can't really. You just have to, like, take them. But that's a shame, because I love that stuff. The progression of Wei Shin in this game as a character, as his livelihood, as a matter of fact, I love that too. One of my favorite things is the rags to riches story. And this game didn't have to have that, being a cop thriller type of thing, but the fact that there's so much drug lord stuff that come into play too is fantastic. There's these points called face points where you can get into fistfights and stuff at these fight clubs, which are fantastic. I love that. All these little side missions you can do, like Fight Club, like karaoke, all of that stuff is amazing. You get better health by by drinking sodas from machines, vending machines, and that's pretty cute too. When it rains in this game, dude, it is so beautiful. Again, detail orientation. I'm going to keep bringing up things all the time with stuff like that. I've wrecked a bazillion cars in the game because of my driving, but also because of the traction that can happen because of weather. That's pretty cool too. I'm trying to remember what else there was I wanted to bring up really quick. Oh, the rags to riches story. So you kind of start out in a poor, like, apartment type of thing at the beginning of this game, and throughout the game, you earn different places in your life because of the story progression, how things go in the mafia, or whatever you want to call this thing, the Sun On Yee gang. You can have a mansion by the end of the game. Not like a full-blown, humongous mansion. Even the interiors are not massive in this game. They're beautiful. They're very detail-oriented as well, but they're not massive. There's not a ton of like, interiors in the game, which is kind of a shame. It seems like a very common thing not to have much of that in recent years with gaming. That kind of bums me out. The best one I've ever seen in the last 2 generations is probably Saints Row 2 and Saints Row 3. But Sleeping Dogs, I think it's cool how you have little details that I've never seen in a game before. For example, when you go shopping for clothing, it's usually like a store that you'd see at the mall. You know when you go to the mall and you have like some stores that don't even have like the front windows. You just kind of have a big open space. You go in and kind of wander around. There's a register right there. They don't really have doors, like at a Bed and Bath and Beyond. It's kind of like that. A lot of the stores that you shop at here, but they have restaurants and that kind of thing too, which are cool. One of the most satisfying things in this game for me is when I'm driving down the street and I hit the parking things. What are they called? The parking meters. You get money from doing that. Depending on what slum you're in too, detail-oriented moment right here. If you're in a slum, you don't get much money. You might get like $5 or $10. Depending on the time of day too, you might get more money. If it's like later in the day, most people have been doing this all day before it was changed out by the meter maids, you get a pretty decent amount of money. If you're in a richer neighborhood and you hit those things, you could earn like $120. Money is kind of hard to come by early on in this game. And there's a lot of stuff I wanted to buy, a lot of cars, and eventually I will go back and do a lot of stuff like Fight Club stuff here soon and buy more cars, because I 1000% have to tell you, when I found out how to increase my face level, which is usually like local missions, fist fights, that kind of thing, I jumped in and did so much of that stuff and got like a face level of 7 or something when I played most of this game with just a face level 1. And every time you want to buy a new car, you have to have that face level and the money, but also the face level. So like I'm buying things that look like Lamborghinis and Ferrari type stuff. I love exotic cars in video games, even though in real life I'm more of a muscle car guy. I love that here too. Those are great, dude. Oh my god, Sleeping Dogs muscle cars are amazing. But the exotic cars, there is nothing like stealing an exotic car in this game and flying when you're going to the next location to drive to. I love that. It's just such a powerful game. The engine is so well utilized here. The physics are great. If you get hit by a car, the kind of ragdoll stuff doesn't feel over-exaggerated the way GTA 4 sometimes does. But like I said, that kind of becomes an issue depending on what we're driving to. Like if it's a big, massive Mack truck type of thing, you're going to have some issues. If you're driving a motorcycle, I fucking hate driving motorcycles in this game, mainly because you have a drift function too. And that is not cooperative when it comes to motorcycles. A lot of cars, it doesn't work with it either, but I love it. I think Sleeping Dogs is one of the best games ever made. I mean that. As a massive fan of, like, again, San Andreas, GTA games in general, Saints Row games in general, for somebody who's a massive fan of that type of thing, this is easily the best of the true crime series. If you consider it part of that, you probably can't. But if you do, it's the best of that easily. It is beautiful. It's so detail-oriented in the way that I think people really appreciate. I still see a lot of shorts and stuff show up on my YouTube page and channel for recommendations because of how popular this still is. 10 years later, and people still talk about this. People like myself that knew about it back in the day who just for whatever reason never got around to it, couldn't find a brand new copy at the time, whatever. Just kept waiting off. I had a falling out with gaming for a while too. I mention that all the time in my videos. People like myself who come back around, pick this up for $10 at a used store, are still coming to you and making videos and saying how wonderful this is, how extremely great this is, how engaging the narrative is. I'm telling you, Sleeping Dogs is the greatest example that I've ever seen in my life of a quote-unquote diverse cast or in a minority cast or anything, of all these people bringing something so special to life. With the Hong Kong area, with all of the acting and actresses, all of that stuff is amazing. The writing is amazing. Everything about Sleeping Dogs, except for some driving functions and some fight bullshit, are fantastic. Perfect even. Even down to the radio stations. A lot of the radio stations are not even in English. And that might be an issue for a lot of people. Quite a few of them are, but a lot of them are not. You have a rock station in here. You have a rap station. You have quite a few stations that just genuinely I enjoyed. Some of the stuff that's not even in English, I liked listening to the music because the melodies were so pretty. The game itself, I just can't explain to you how it's like stepping into another culture. It feels like if I went to actually, like Hong Kong. The map feels enormous, totally enormous. Getting on boats and driving around in the water, that stuff is incredible. I can't tell you how much fun I had with this game. It was such a great kind of mental getaway when you have really bad days at work. For that month that I played the hell out of this game and tried to do so much in it, I'm telling you, I had so much fun. I can't even describe it to you. I genuinely had moments in this game too that I laughed out loud, like really hard laughter, because of how good the writing was, how good the acting and performances are. There are moments that can make you cry. There's moments that are going to hit you in the gut. Wei Shen himself is just phenomenal as a character. I just don't even know what else to tell you. If you haven't listened to this 20-minute long video and haven't been sold yet on checking out Sleeping Dogs, I don't know what to tell you. It's one of the best games I have ever played in my life, and it's one of the most satisfying games I've ever played in my life. It's really not that long of a story mode either. The missions fly by pretty quick. You have little side jobs and stuff you can do. Oh, another complaint I have too is the GPS. You can kind of click your left joystick when you're in your car or motorcycle or whatever, and it should change around the direction on how to get to whatever, and it kind of color codes that. If it's like a story mission, let's say, it'll be like green. If it's like a side mission, it might be blue. If it's a priority of some sort, it could be like green. If it's something stupid, it could be orange. That's kind of the color coding they do for here, and I can't tell you how many times, this might be a bug, but how many times I would drive to somewhere and my damn GPS would switch to something else or just turn off entirely. That happened constantly to me, which was really, really annoying. With all that being said, Sleeping Dogs, amazing game. 5 out of 5 for me. I know it's not completely perfect, but everything else in this is so enjoyable, I can overlook the small problems I have with it. Now, the fighting and stuff, like I said, can be an issue. The shooting mechanics are kind of underdeveloped too. As much as I love the guns in the game, I think they sound great. The sound design and the general part of the game, the whole game, is beautiful. The gun design, like the look of them, the sound, all that's really good. It's just the actual aiming and shooting that is a little stiff too. The game needed a little bit more working on. If it's improved in the remasters, please let me know down in the comment section down below for me and for other people. Frankly, if I wasn't the type of person who's pissed over these newer games being on a download, and even though you have a disc, there's still a download, a digital download of some sort involving internet. If it weren't the case, frankly, I would jump right in and buy the new remasters for Sleeping Dogs. As many other games as I want to get, I would almost do that because I want to see how beautiful the game looks in the remasters. The little bit I have seen look incredible. With all that being said, though, the game is 1,000% worth everything I could possibly tell you that you should check it out. It is phenomenal. It's one of the best thriller stories I've ever played in my life. It's one of the best stories in video games I've ever played. One of the best stories in an open world game. And just one of the best open worlds in general with design and everything. Even if you don't play the story mode, if you could care less about that and just want the experience of the world, I'm telling you, you have no idea how much fun you can have in this game. Anyway, Sleeping Dogs for Xbox 360. Wonderful game. Absolutely loved it so much. Highly recommended for you guys if you haven't played it. One of the best, hands down. Have you played Sleeping Dogs? Have you played the remasters? What do you think about all this? Let me know all that down in the comment section down below, folks. I would love to hear what you have to say about this absolute modern classic of the last 10 years that so many people still talk about and still love and worship, and I don't blame them either. I love the game. I recommend it highly once again, as I've said for 25 minutes now. What did you think? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Damn, I keep messing up the ending of my videos today. I've done 6 different video recordings. I've messed up the ending of every single one of them. Put your thoughts and comments down below. I'd love to hear everything you have to say about the game down there. Thank you for watching, guys. God bless you. Merry Christmas, even though it's over from yesterday. Happy New Year, and goodbye.